Sponsored by Stand Up to All Hate. Call a timeout against hate.
Ladies and gentlemen, not that it wasn't already, but the Offensive Rookie of the Year race.
Over.
That's a wrap, folks.
Yeah, he put it to bed.
Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commandos they had that little stretch there where they were just trying to rid themselves of whatever changed during the Steelers game. Like, I don't know what, something showed up there or somebody was present and it kind of threw them into a 3-game skid. But the Commanders have
I am not the mush.
the Commanders.
Mush. I'm not the mush at all.
I mean, Jalen Hurts injury or not, that's pretty impressive, especially considering you were a -4 in the turnover differential, and somehow they won that game yesterday.
Horrible how many times they fumbled, man. It's horrible.
It's a brand new Washington Commanders, man.
I just say this. And watching that game and watching the way it went, I was like, Washington hadn't had a signature win all season. They hadn't beat a good team all season. And it looked as though they were on that same trajectory in that game. Now, a lot of people made the statement that, well, you lost Jalen Hurts. You didn't have Jalen Hurts. And while I'll agree with that, I think if they have Jalen Hurts, they still find a way to win that game. And not to mention if Devontae Adams doesn't Devontae Smith, if he doesn't drop that ball, they don't even get the ball back and have the opportunity to try to go down and win the game. But it all happened that way. And you're talking about a Philadelphia defense that's a highly rated defense, the most highly rated defense, and you weren't stopping them. And not only did you not stop them, but you didn't overcome, 5 turnovers?
Yeah.
You didn't overcome 5 turnovers as a defense? So to me, I felt as though people say it's more about Jalen Hurts being out and the Philadelphia Eagles not playing as well as they should have. And I'll push back on that, and I'll say that this is a team in the Washington Commanders that showed resilience. They showed fight, no quit. And by the way, Jalen Hurts was not missing because Jalen Hurts just wasn't playing. Jalen Hurts got knocked out of the game. So that's a result of how hard they were playing. They were hitting. That you could tell that there were implications connected to this game, playoffs-wise, seeding-wise, and the Washington Commanders came out on top. Give them their props and give props to Jayden Daniels being a rookie in that scenario and rushing for the yardage that he did and delivering when he did so that team could win the game.
I think they're two separate combos. There's no doubt in my mind, Jayden Daniels has been the best player as a rookie this season. And maybe right below him is probably Brock Bowers, if we're going to be honest with how we look at it. This game, though, turned when Jalen Hurts did go out of the game. And even Kenny Pickett, who was being, I think he had x-rays on his ribs after the game as well. So I don't even know how healthy he was, even playing in the backup role. So I think you can acknowledge both things. Is this the best they could have taken from the Philadelphia Eagles for 4 quarters? No, but to your point, that's kind of how these games work out. It's not, Washington's fault that, Philly, got beat up, or Hurts gets knocked out, and then even Pickett's battling through some stuff too. So that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, they overcame it. They came back at a huge, really fourth quarter, and Jayden Daniels has been everything Washington had hoped he would be. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on teams. If you're really looking at the bigger conversation, this is in 1 year's time. Right, Dan Quinn comes in as head coach. We have a new ownership group. Jayden Daniels as your quarterback. They're turning this team into a playoff team, into a contender. And every one of these other games that you got to watch, whether it's the New York Giants that we'll talk about, or Las Vegas, who obviously they need to find a quarterback, even though they won.
They pulled it out.
You start to look at some of these other franchises and teams and go, that's the expectation now. There's other owners looking around at Jayden Daniels and Dan Quinn in Washington saying, why can't we do this? Why can't we find that guy? Why can't we find a coach who can help us turn this around in year one? Why do we need to wait? And that's the pressure that I think this time of year you see as you look at some owners who are probably thinking, hey, I'd like the guy I hired, but why aren't things working out? Why are we losing? Why are we drafting at the top of the draft? And it's going to be Shador, wherever he ends up going. And they have to have the faith that that quarterback and their current head coach or a guy they're going to go hire if they move on from him can turn this thing around. Like as awesome as it is for Jayden Daniels and in Washington, all the fans too, I think who have been dying for something like this for a while. There's also the conversation of like it puts a lot of pressure on a lot of other teams out there too who aren't winning football games that are trying to find the next Jayden Daniels.
And also it kind of puts to bed the whole, well, if you're drafting a quarterback, it's got to be an offensive minded guy. Like Dan Quinn has completely turned around that program, that organization. And so like to me it goes, don't just hire whoever would be the best fit for the quarterback. Who's the best fit for the team? Like the best fit for the culture there. And they've done an amazing job. I mean, they're a one and done in the playoffs. Like, let's not get it, twisted here.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. They're not. That's not a bad team.
But they're the Indiana of the NFL.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
I'm not even going to entertain that. Listen, I'll further it by. We had a conversation not too long ago about what would we have got if Patrick Mahomes or if Caleb Williams had gone to Kansas City. Would we have gotten another Patrick Mahomes? And probably the answer we said was yes. So the bottom line to me is, yeah, people are looking at what that looks like to be able to bring in a quarterback, or you bring in a quarterback and a coach and you say this is what we can get if we do that. But it comes down to how you're running your organization. And Caleb Williams could have probably been far and away the offensive rookie of the year had he gone to a better situation and a better scenario. He has still done some excellent, amazing things. You just see the youth in his game. You see that there are places where he can have more development or have more things that he needs to work on. And what does that look like if he's somewhere else? And so to me, you could sit there and be Woody Johnson and say, man, we brought in Aaron Rodgers. That didn't work. Why can't we bring in a new coach, bring in a new quarterback, and we'll be okay? Look in the mirror. You want to know who's not going to lie to you? The person looking right back at you when you look into the mirror.
Wait, so you can't lie to yourself?
You can't lie to yourself. You can, but yourself knows the truth.
Yeah.
You know the truth. And the bottom
Jonas
line,
lies to himself all the time.
Yeah, but he knows the truth. He can try to.
Actually, hold on. Lee lies to himself all the time.
Well, that might be the only exception.
I mean, you need
to the rule out of anything and everybody that I would say you can't lie to yourself. Lee might be the only exception.
I mean, you need practice. You got to start on yourself before you can lie to anybody else.
They say that habitual liars can convince themselves that their own lies are true. Like, I get that, but looking in that mirror, you still know what it is that you had to do. What is going on? Hammers everywhere.
Lee,
bang everywhere.
Lee, what is on TV?
Road Trip.
Okay.
It's a great film.
Oh, I remember that movie.
Yeah. I mean,
is that the one with Tom Green?
Yes.
Yeah.
When I remember he holds up the underwear on the bus, right?
Whoa.
What is going on?
What? Totally derailed my thought process. But all I'll say is if you're going to look at what you want the results to be, then you got to give that coach and you got to give that quarterback the environment to have the opportunity to be able to accomplish that. If you're not going to create an environment where it's conducive to that type of growth, because I'll tell you right now, you can feel it. If it's negative, if it's positive, if there's like a true essence of this is what we need, this is what we want, this is like do what you do. When I got to Washington and I went and visited, it was very evident. You could feel it. Dan Quinn has walked into a situation where Dan Quinn can coach his coaches and they can coach their players. And this is an environment where we don't walk into the locker room and it's like we lost the game. Don't look at them. Don't say hello or don't say hey or anything to them. If we win the game, it's, oh, hey, how you doing, Mr. Snyder? How's it? Shake your hand. Dan Snyder would stand in front of the effing door at our locker room after every single game. As he should.
Yeah.
He owned the team.
Yeah.
And if we won, he shook your hand. If we lost, He just looked at you.
Now, did he have his sons in the locker room like Woody Johnson?
Well, his son was too busy up in the owner's boxes, the owner's suites, ripping up pool tables with the pool stick, and the security telling them don't touch him because this is Dan Snyder's son. Just let him ruin the pool table. And people saying, no, little kid, don't do that. They're sitting there, security like, nah, don't touch him. Let him do what he wants.
Took the kid off the toy.
Kid sitting there effing that pool table up. Straight trying to rip the material off with the pool stick. Let him go. If that's the environment that you think is going to lead to you winning, then you got to live with the results that come with it. But give props and respect to Washington's new ownership and the job those guys are doing, because it's given Dan Quinn the opportunity to, one, do what he does best, which is build a defense that can compete and can contend. But two, seeing that you have a rookie in Jayden Daniels that looks like he's going to be a really, really big contributor and superstar to the National Football League. Sponsored by Stand Up to All Hate. Call a timeout against hate.